Welcome everyone. Today we have an amazing new Diablo 4 Spiritborn build that just cleared pit 137. Now this build is insanely powerful using the latest armor and also HP stacking mechanics with bonus barrier damage. So here what I want to do is, this is an entire demonstration of the video, and I just quickly fast forward to the point that the Chinese player that just cleared pit tier 137. And you can see he was critting billions and also billions of huge numbers. Let me see the final crit. It's like quadrillions, and like it's incredible. I don't even know how many is that. That is like 470 billion of damage. And that is going to be the strongest meta build right now for all the Chinese players. Everyone's going to try this build, and you really want to be playing this build. So let's go through the video and let me explain some of the build mechanics and also concepts. This build is using the Banished Lord Amulet, which allows you to guarantee your overpower hits. Now there is a hidden mechanic that allows you to only need 240 maximal essence instead of 270. And here they are stacking a new mechanic that allows you to stack barrier gain and also additional barrier for bonus damage. Every point of barrier will provide you with uncapped bonus damage, and he was stacking over 1000% bonus damage because of additional barriers. And you can see the numbers is crazy. Did you see the triple bit? Look, you remember they said they'll reduce the numbers? How many zeros is that? This is like 12,000 billion, 12 trillion. This is like 12 trillion damage. It is crazy. And let me walk you guys all the core mechanics and the gears you needed for this particular build. Now, before we dive into the video, we want to say a big thank you to Cho Li Akina on the Chinese buildability, and this is the video demonstration we had a look. They clipped pit 137 on this particular build, and I have the video available for you guys to have a look. And here they have a Chinese version of the build that can be translated if you come over to the Chinese website. But what cannot be translated are those additional crucial important information for the mechanics and also how everything works. And thankfully I can speak and also translate Chinese, and I have translated everything for you guys that is important for this particular build. So briefly going through the choice of gears, and as you can see, they are not using mythical uniques. They're using the Harmony Helmet, they're using the Banished Lord Amulet, and finally they're using Rod of Tekeleki and also Rakon's Wake. And those are the only unique item that is used. Actually, there's also the Midnight Sun Ring, of course, that provides us with a lot of resource generation. So there's actually only 4 different legendary aspects that is used for this particular build. So coming over to my English translation, that is a work in progress. For the armor pieces, he's using aspect of Force Power, which provides us with a barrier equal to our maximum life. We're going to stack a lot of barrier gain and also barriers that will be translated into additional damage. The second one we have is going to be the aspect of Redirecting Force. This one will provide us with some higher critical damage based on the blocking chance. After that, we'll be getting a lot of blocking chance coming from additional resolve stack, which can potentially give us over 600% block chance coming from resolve stack that quadruples and amplifies the critical damage over here. And finally, they're using the aspect of Moonrise, which provide a lot of basic attack speed and also basic attack skill damage plus maximum movement speed. Now at this point, I'm sure you guys are wondering what are the hidden mechanics. So let's go through my notes over here. One of the biggest hidden mechanics the Chinese content creators and also the community discovered is that stacking barriers equals to bonus damage. So coming from this particular legendary knot, I'm not sure if I can see it, so let me move my camera a little bit and hopefully this will give you a better view of it. So this particular legendary knot, the Vicious Shield, will provide you with 1% additional damage for each 3% of maximum life you have as barrier. And the Chinese community has calculated this equal to 12 barriers equals to 1% bonus damage. So what that really means is, let me bring the camera back actually, maybe a little better. So what this really means is, if you can able to stack over 12,000 barriers, this will provide you with a massive uncapped damage of over 10,000% more damage. And this is 10 times damage. So this is why in this build, we're stacking maximum HP, because your barrier depends on your maximum HP and also your barrier generation and also ways of getting additional barrier. And over here you can see that the choices of the glyphs and also ruins for this build, you can see that we're getting proc and Q, which also have earthen bulwark that give us barriers. Again, having additional barriers means that this contributes to the massive bonus to additional damage. And of course, the second rune here, we're going with maximum life. So having maximum life means higher maximum barrier, and ways of getting more barriers means you deal even higher damage. Now you can see that in this build, all the chest pieces, they are stacking the maximum life or maximum barrier generation, the purple gems. And you can see there are 4 purple gems. After that, there are 2 of the runes. So we're stacking all the purple gems for this particular build. Now, additional notes from this particular builder's guide is the recommendation of getting a max roll on your unique sun ring to 50%. And as we keep going through the notes, the bigger discovery from the community is that you only need 240 maximum resource to trigger the amulet. Now this was actually different to what people thought initially, where you need 275. So what is happening is, let's come over to the amulet. So the Banished Lord requires you to spend 275 primary resource. But the Chinese community discovered that the Rod of Kapeleki reduce the cost of your vigor by 30%. But this reduced vigor cost is still counting towards how much you have spent in the amulet. So what, after the calculation and testing, is the simple, too long didn't read version, is that you just need 240 maximum resource to hit the cap to trigger the amulet's effect. Because the 35 resource comes free if you're using this unique staff or unique round or quarter staff. So this means for those of you that trying to stack maximum resource, it is actually much easier to build this build just hitting 240 maximum resource. And this also means you no longer need the unique pens for tip as well, and also you don't have to hit maximum resource rolls on the weapon all the time. Previously, everyone believed we have to hit 3 or 2 times on the maximum resource. Now, even just hitting once on the maximum resource on the weapon in Mastercraft, that may be enough. This also frees up the choice of using maximum life potions instead of the maximum resource potions, and this means tons of more damage and survivability. Now, we have mentioned earlier, one of the mechanics we have here is going to be the gloves over here. So we're stacking block chains. One of the Chinese theory crafters decided to look into this, and you can get around a maximum of 40 stacks of resolve. And if you're using a colossal rune, this is actually amazing for bonus damage. And the combination is over here. You'll be gaining additional block chance based on your resolve. And then this particular block chance can stack up to 400 or 600%. And then your critical strike damage will be based on the block chance. So I have stream shot all the required legendary aspects that was described in the build. And this is what made the build really amazing. And if you're wondering, all the translation are coming from here for the additional notes. That was really hard to translate using Google Translator, so I actually translate this one manually for us. Now briefly going through the choice of Paragon nodes and also legendary effects for this build. So for this build, the Chinese team is actually using Talent as one of the legendary effect. And here we have, it's a little laggy over here, as you know. So here we have Magenerist. Magenerist. I cannot pronounce this one. And the next one we have is Colossal, which is amazing to stack resolve. So the fourth one we have is going to be Headhunter. Well, if you play PoE, you know how good Headhunter is. And this will provide you additional damage against elites. Finally, they're using the rune for Spirit. And Spirit will provide you with tons of more critical damage and also critical damage multiplier. Now, before we finish the video, let's briefly have a look at the skill rotations and also combination for the build. You do have Vortex to suck enemies in, and together with abilities to constantly stun enemies from your passives through your choice of masterwork and also weapon crafting and also gear crafting, you're constantly disabling the enemies. You'll be providing yourself with additional block chance as you cast armor height, which is amazing. You can be jumping around with your ultimate and also jumping into the enemies. And this together with Ravager, whenever it's available, allows you to stack and also deal the highest damage while recovering a resource. It's almost at max. It's always at max, that's what I meant. And similarly, if you look into the boss, the build is actually quite mobile because you can use the ultimate to dodge. But most of the time, you're doing enough damage to push down any of the boss. And you can see the Chinese player was able to push over Pit 137 very easily using this build. Now, before I finish the video, I do have a small unsolved question that I want to check with you guys. Yes, I have been discussing with my friends and I'm not sure about this. you can see the Chinese content creators are favored towards maximum life, armor, and they're not pushing into a lot of dexterity. And you can see even for the gloves, they're going for maximum life, attack speed, and also crow volley. So what that means is I am a little uncertain how come the build is not using this particular legendary aspects, which is the unyielding hits that provide you with additional weapon damage based on armor. And I have been discussing with my friends about this because they definitely have a slot. They actually prefer to go with Moonrise that has increased attack speed and bonus basic skill damage over the stacking of armor. Now, if you guys do know about this part, which I'm a little uncertain, please let us know in the comments below, and I'll update this one in the future videos once I discover the answer to this. And if you want to test the alternative aspects, we can look into this as well. And finally, big shout out to the content creators and also Chinese community for sharing this amazing build.